Uncle Chael, I mean, you looking good today, man. What happened?
Appreciate the compliment. I do. That's a big compliment to be told that you look nice. I got a memo that said we were supposed to dress up today.
Well, I sure didn't get the memo. Why wouldn't you guys tell me?
I think you look great.
But I was playing golf. That's why I'm dressed like this.
I hate that. Were you golfing with Gaethje?
I was with Justin Gaethje, who is one of my favorite people in the world.
It drives me crazy. I don't like that you and Gaethje made up. I don't like over the whole Islam, and you thought he should get that on. I remember this whole thing, and the next thing I know, you guys are out golfing, and it creates a weird jealousy, and I don't know where that comes from. I hate that you golf in general. I hate you have fun golfing, and I hate you have fun golfing
and
with
an
Justin Gaethje.
exclusive course today. It was beautiful.
Fancy.
Hard to get on. Hey, you're fancy. Look at those fancy boots and those fancy glasses. Come on, man. Who's more fancy, me or Uncle Chael here? What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Daniel Cormier. That's Chael, son of Chael P. I gotta imagine you're dressed like that because Miss Brittany's here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Boy, is she a stunner.
I appreciate you saying that. When I met that girl, Daniel, I went up to her. If you hear anybody pulling this, they stole this move from me. I went up to that girl, had my phone in my back pocket. She was a total stranger. I said, hey, can I borrow your phone? I've got to make a phone call. Called myself, felt it vibrate, text her immediately and said, careful who you loan your phone to. A lot of crazies out there. That's my move.
Game.
Yeah, that's my move.
That's game. Let me tell you something. Learn something, young man, from Uncle Chael, because that's how you get not only a girlfriend, that's how you get your wife, and then you ultimately end up with a Thero.
It's not easy. You know about Elf on the Shelf, by the way, speaking of Thero?
I do.
Okay. It's a big thing in my house. My daughter was studying the elf, who you're not allowed to touch, by the way. You got to put this glove on before you can touch it. But she was studying the elf and found that it has a tag. And she is determined that things that Santa gives you do not have tags. Things that you buy at the store have tags.
Wow.
Of which I informed her.
How are you explaining it?
The tag, if you'll look closer, is to the clothing the elf is wearing.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. So, Chael, Chris Pendleton's son came to my house. Initially, I scared him with the elf on the shelf. And now it's all he talks about. It's been 2 years.
He loves it.
He loves the elf on the shelf.
He's very cute.
Guys, see that third seat over there? That belongs to the greatest bantamweight of all time. Dominick Cruz is going to join us on this show while we talk about UFC 310, Chael, which is why we're here.
Do you think Dom's in a mood, by the way? Before he gets here, listen, do you think he's in a mood? Because he will show up in a mood sometimes.
Sometimes when he's in a mood, stay away from him.
Yes.
He be after me sometimes. We have the nicest relationship between two guys that like love each other, but ultimately want to kill each other. We've been working together for 10 years.
Yeah, we got a 25-pounder in the main event. We got a 45-pounder now, the former 35-pound champion in all. Like, that's just too close to Dom. Yeah. That's too close for him to not like be competitive and angry. And it's not his weight class.
He gets a little ornery. But first, we got to talk about these two dudes in the co-main event. Look, Asakura, who's a superstar, we will get to. But a lot of the interest in this fight card is Ian Garry versus Shavkat Rakhmonov.
I share that.
But yes, and we talked about it last week for a while. But for me, Chael, it's more about the mess. I've said this for years. I love being messy. I love to poke the bear, prod. I want to start stuff between people. We didn't have to do that with these two.
Yeah.
These two seemed to immediately, once the fight was announced, go, we're not friends, we're not teammates. I want to get at this dude. And now there's drama. Just like we need to be.
Well, in all fairness, I mean, they were workout partners. They're training together every day. When one guy leaves the gym, there is a rivalry that's built in. There is no way around that. Now, generally, it's not when it's the younger guy. In this case, it's Ian Garry. Look, somebody's O must go. I know that sounds cliche, but that works in every sport there is. It could be baseball, hockey, whatever. Somebody's O must go. Dana White has never stooped to that marketing level. Daniel, he's never been able to. Yeah. He has never had a feature match with two guys undefeated. They've had 30 fights between them, and neither one of these guys has been beat. Come on, man.
So let me ask you this question.
That's a hard fight.
It is a very hard fight. But a lot has been made now about Shavkat submitted Ian.
Yep.
Right? People train. We've trained. I've trained with many guys. I've been submitted in practice. But if a guy gets me once, that's not a big deal. Now, only these two guys know if Shavkat was doing this over and over again, right? Because we get submitted every now and again. Why is it such a big deal? He submitted him. If it's once, it doesn't really matter. But hey, if they're doing rounds, Chael, and he's throwing him down, having his way with him and submitting him, That's a real problem.
And that I'd be more interested in that. I'd be more interested in the positions he was getting to find the submission.
Ian said this. Ian told me this yesterday in the fight meeting. He goes, he submitted me when I shot for a takedown. I'm in America. I'm working on my wrestling. This is not something that I'm always going to do.
It's fair.
So what does it matter? Ian Garry's not shooting double legs. So I imagine he got caught in the guillotine.
Yeah, I feel like these guys both have a good idea of who's going to win this fight. They at least have a good idea of who used to win. But neither one of them hesitated to take the fight. These guys are both in qualification for title fights. I mean, right, being undefeated and they're great records. They didn't hesitate. It's not a main event. It's not for a title. It hasn't even promised a number one contenders match, though we, of course, recognize that it is. I'm just sharing with you. Neither one of these guys flinched. And when you have really great fights, it's when two guys actually think they're going to beat the other one. And that's not very often, man. There's usually somebody acting and they got a pretty good idea of what's going to happen that night. These guys both think they're going to beat each other. Or Ian Garry's the world's best actor. I believe him. He has convinced me that he believes he's going to win this. They added 2 rounds to it, and Ian Garry didn't flinch to sign it. Can I tell you something about that submission? I found that empowering to Ian Garry. He came out, he said, I got submitted in practice. If I can give you an example, but guys go back and forth of what happened in the training room. Uriah Faber, no, I apologize. It was TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt.
Yep.
And there was a knockout. Then they disputed if there was a knockout.
TJ got knocked out.
And then video came out, and they're arguing and fighting over this video that didn't matter from years ago that surfaced online. And I'm only sharing, who cares?
Because in the
Who cares
fight,
if
what
he got
happened?
caught? Right. But I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, instead of let's put all of our energy in focusing and convincing the world who won in a sparring session, they're actually going to fight. I felt like Ian Garry handled that right by saying he used to submit me. Next question.
Yeah, I thought Ian did a good job going, it's not a big deal.
Right.
Because by just admitting it, it's not a big deal. When TJ Dillashaw was going, that didn't happen, it became bigger than it should have been. Now, for these two guys, Shavkat already had a title fight.
Yeah.
I asked him, I sat down with him yesterday for YouTube, and I go, why would you do this? Why would you fight knowing that you are number one contender, you're fighting Bilal Muhammad, you don't have to fight anybody? He goes, I don't know how long Bilal will run from the fight, and I don't want to wait. That's what he said. Those were his words. Ian Garry's like, I came here to earn an opportunity to be great. The shortest path to that greatness in a title fight is through the guy that everybody is afraid to fight. They're both confident, but ultimately, like you said, and everybody always goes, well, this guy would have beat this guy, and this guy would have beat this guy. Like at AK, we always had teammates. Josh Koscheck and John Fitch.
Sure.
Josh Koscheck will kill John Fitch, but it never happened, right?
Yeah.
Josh Koscheck probably realized, like, I don't know if I want to fight John Fitch.
Sure.
DC and Cain Velasquez. There's a reason I didn't fight Cain Velasquez. I couldn't beat him. I knew I wasn't going to beat him. I will let you guys speculate. Khabib and Islam. Who's going to win that fight? We don't know. But it's like they know.
Yeah.
And that's why you generally, one guy goes, yeah, whatever, this is my teammate. These two both like, sure. Ian Garry said he was in Thailand getting ready to fight Joaquin Buckley. He got the call middle of the night, didn't hesitate, his manager Lloyd told me. He said immediately, yes, no question about it. Let's do it. I'll fight Shavkat. I don't know where he gets this from, because it would seem as though Rakhmonov, with his ability to take him down, could present some true problems for Ian Garry. Not afraid at all. And if he wins, this dude has been on the good side of fans. He's been on the bad side of fans. If he wins, he will be undeniable, and it don't matter how you feel about him. He will be an absolute superstar.
Yeah, Ian's a star. I fully agree with you. Like, why Shavkat appears to be better and he's the favorite and he's higher ranked, Ian's the bigger star. Ian is the one that's more likely to be recognized. Shavkat, I mean, if I could just tell you a downside, he's fought 4 times in 5 years, or it's 5 times in 4 years, and I don't think maybe you realize how inactive he is. And Chimaev's got a little bit of that, just to compare those two. They used to be in the same weight class, similar styles. The point that I would like to make, you have head-to-head competition, but then you have common opponent. That's what we will always look to when we're setting odds. Ian Garry laid out a case for himself.
Yep.
He brought Jeff Neal into it. He brought Neil Magny into it. And he said, yes, Shavkat finished them, but I was cleaner. I dominated him. I got hit less. It was just an interesting argument. It's not necessarily how I perceived those fights, but it's really what's in the fighter's mind. Ian Garry has found his path to confidence, and that approach is so important. He's got common opponents. That's very legit. The mask is off. He's not scared of Rakhmonov like everybody else.
Tell us that MMA math doesn't work.
Yes, they say that, but it really does. It truly does. It's the best metric that we have.
It's all we have.
Yes. The single best metric we have is MMA math and common opponents. And I'm only making a case for Ian Garry here because he's made it for himself. DC, this guy was on a rise like no other. He qualifies for a main event. He arguably qualifies for a title shot, maybe just behind Rakhmonov. These guys are literally fighting in a non-main event for a non-title. I respect it. Yeah. They want to know who is best, and they're willing to take the risk to do it. And not everybody around here does that. No, that's the truth.
They don't. They don't. But let's not forget, 18 finishes, 18 victories. That's unreal. Crazy. Because sometimes in 18 fights, you make a mistake and somebody gets you. Maybe they catch you with a guillotine, they submit you, they sometimes beat you. That doesn't happen to Shavkat. Guys, Chael and I speak about these athletes, the way that they perform, and their ability to get to the top of the game. Yep. We have a guy that's already been there. Seen the top of the game, has lived as a champion for so long, his entire career, feels like he has been a champion. Dominick Cruz. Cruz, can you come in and join us?
By the way, is he late or this was like our big intro? Like, let's roll him out for the audience.
Dom was like,
how are you, Dom?
Dom was there. Yeah. And they said, okay, Dom's coming on. And then he left.
So it's just an empty chair?
I don't understand. I'm looking at Cheyenne.
Does his check clear the same? Did he get stuck at catering?
I think
Where has he been?
I truly believe that we dock him a little bit on the pay. They don't let me write that.
Even know. It's like he doesn't even know what we're talking about. Dom, are you in a mood today? Are you
with the late thing?
With the late thing.
You?
I always thought they always make the case that Brazilians and black people are late. Dom's Mexican.
I've never heard of. I don't.
Look, Chill's like, I'm out.
No, what
every time this conversation starts, Chill's like, I'm out.
No.
I'm gonna tell you that. I'm gonna start with this.
Go ahead.
I had a crown put on my tooth. Half of my face does not work. People.
Good disclosure.
So it looks kind of like I may have had, a stroke or something.
No, you didn't. I think you look great.
You really do.
Get more
or like Two-Face. I got the Two-Face thing going on.
Things that, Dom and our relationship is great. At times volatile to fight. But here's the thing. I've been most jealous about Dom is he weighs like 150 pounds and he wears a really nice suit. You see him in a suit.
He looks fine.
Look at him right now.
No, he looks fine.
You guys are going to make me red.
Your guys
I know how hard it is for you to compliment me, DC. You're going to make me red. Stop that.
Dom, have you and Bisping made up, by the way? I mean, I know I'm going back 2 years, but have you guys patched that up?
This is the thing. Has Bisping made up with Bisping? That's the real question you're asking me.
Be scared of him, though. He's 50 pounds bigger than you. Why are you not intimidated by him?
I'm going to tell you how this works, okay? When you're my size, you got two choices. You either get punked and they push you a mile, or you say, look, I'm going to stand my ground, and yes, you will probably beat the hell out of me, but I will rip your toenails off on my way out.
Hey, listen,
he will too.
I will hurt you on the way out. It won't be easy.
I've been to Tucson where Dom grew up. A little sketchy, man.
DC knows from Louisiana. This is the Louisiana guy.
I know, but I understand. That's what I'm saying. I respect it. But Dom, let's talk about this.
Can I tell you something about that?
Go ahead.
My buddy Daryl went to Dom's house after Dom had made it. He was a WEC champ. He was the UFC champ for 3.5 years. And Dom was bragging about this house he got. My buddy goes, there was bars on all the windows. He's like, Dom thought he had made it. He said, man, I was scared to be over there. And Dom's like, check out my place.
My boy Dom grew up in hard little wrestling kid. I met his high school coach. What?
Everybody from Arizona is tough.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
We got a long group of people. Yeah, Henry, honestly. Roman. Yeah.
All right.
A lot of Arizona people.
When you came to the UFC, you were the WEC champion. So you know a little bit about stepping into the UFC and fighting for a championship right away. That's what Kai Asakura is doing this week.
Yep.
What do you make of this? Because, dude, I didn't know who Kai Asakura is. If I'm being completely honest, I heard his name. But when I saw him, dude carries a little bit of a star quality about him when he enters the room. He's tall. He's good looking. Dude's got blonde hair. Great looking little Japanese kid. And he can fight. I saw him in the room and went to watch him fight. And he's the real deal. What do you make of Kai Asakura and him getting a title fight immediately?
Well, those are two subjects, right? Him getting a title shot immediately. I think you got to look at the 150,000 subscribers on YouTube as the sole culprit of that. Yeah. When you have that kind of following, look at CM Punk. He was able to bring 1 million pay-per-view buys, and he had no experience whatsoever. When you can bring that kind of following, your 6-fight contract pay goes up, which means it doesn't matter what you're ranked. They're paying you too much money to not put you against the best guys in the division. That's what happened to him.
Very rarely, though, does a guy come and get a title fight. Gil Melendez did.
Yep.
Dom obviously did. Ronda Rousey got the belt. But this kid right here, man, this kid has, what, 1.5 million subscribers?
Well, listen, it's a lot different than me doing it than him doing it because the timeline. But it's the timeline is what I'm saying. No, when I fought Uriah Faber in 2007 for the 145-pound belt, I was 9-0, and Faber had a long streak of wins, and they needed somebody to face him. But it was a different age. Look at the division right now. They need a guy like Kai to keep adding some fire to the division. It's pretty much shut down right now. Pantoja's beaten a lot of the top guys. He's almost cleaned out the division, right? So you got to bring somebody else in.
I will tell you this. It is very hard. There's a couple of things. Layoffs matter to everybody in the world not named Dominick Cruz. But another thing, fighting in a new organization, man, it's different. It smells different. The way they bring you to the ring is different. The way backstage is different. Kai Asakura at some point has to look up to the UFC. He has to. He's a fan like all of us. He has to assume these guys are tougher. Now he's going to walk out after a world champion in Aljo. He's going to walk out after a world champion in Chris Weidman. I'm just saying there is some major pressure on him, and pressure matters because it creates a fatigue. It will be very impressive. And by the way, if I can add, we've got guys that have corrupted our ranking system, using the rankings as a way to get out of a fight. Oh, I'm ranked number 12 and he's ranked number 6 and it doesn't make sense. Whatever it is. We've got a guy that's not ranked at all fighting for the championship, and there's not a single 125-pounder that says he shouldn't be.
Because
I trust him.
I heard that they all turned him down.
Yes.
They said they were trying to get him fight after fight after fight and couldn't match him.
But Dom, doesn't that have to matter?
Match him, Dom.
I mean, if the fellow 125-pounders are not arguing, it would seem we've got the right guy.
I mean, yeah, it must be, and they must want to get paid more to fight a former champion. That's the other side of it. Like how much, he goes straight to the title because of what he's getting paid. He's not getting paid for
The
this.
popularity, sure. Dom. He's an extremely popular
Well,
kid.
we just said 150,000 YouTube subscribers. In where he's from his side of the world, he is the man.
They said he's a superstar.
Yeah, he's the man. He might as well be Naruto, for God's sake. You know what I mean?
France, why are these guys, just by example, Kaikar, why are they not arguing and saying, wait a minute, I've traveled the road, I've been in the octagon, I got the ranking.
This is the difference, right? This is the difference. I believe that the stories when I hear they tried to match him with multiple opponents. People weren't necessarily excited to fight him. But I remember when Henry came back, you were really upset and you were very verbal about it, right? Because you were like, no, this doesn't work because they hadn't offered it to you. If it was offered to you and you said, no, I don't want to do it, then it's hard for you to have an opinion on what matters. The whole 125-pound division should be pissed off at me because I don't know because I haven't spoken to any of them. I'm telling you, I've heard this just around that these guys haven't said nothing. And then I think by what Chael's saying almost proves the point. You don't feel like you have the right to say anything because you weren't necessarily stepping up to do it.
Well, let's look at a whole nother spectrum, and it's UFC's not going to listen to you even if you do care. What are you talking about? Like we have a choice. Like we're gonna come on.
In the mood.
You really think they're gonna be like,
Dom,
oh, you're right, you deserve it.
Manel
Here
Kape,
you go.
Fought twice.
Title
you
shot.
beat him.
No.
Manel Kape, you fought him twice.
Absolutely never.
You lost to him the second time in the controversial fight. Let's fight. Or the kid that beat Manel Kape got cut. But I'm saying, like, who's winning? The ones that are winning that could fight Pantoja. Sure.
Well,
they had the opportunity.
I want to talk about how he's coming from Japan, that huge show, and the amount of people he's used to fighting in.
And that's why fighting in the UFC won't matter to him.
Correct. I think so. And the amount of pressure that he's used to, and he's fought Manel Kape, he's fought Horiguchi.
Horiguchi
both
was really good.
Honestly, high level in their class. So he's faced the speed, he's faced the feints. There's a level when you're in the top 5, what starts happening, you start seeing fakes, you start seeing feints at the top of the card. These guys have that. He's faced those. He has confidence from that. But now he's got to face a guy who's not quite as fast as Manel Kape. He doesn't hit quite as hard as Horiguchi at him. But
you mean Pantoja?
I think so.
Do you think he's favored against Pantoja?
I think that stylistically, I don't think he's favored, but I think that
asking you, Dominick Cruz, that's one of the smartest dudes in the game.
Yeah, this is a big compliment.
Who do you think is going to win this fight Saturday?
Yeah.
If I had to put my money on
answers my question. He thinks it's close. Sorry to cut you off.
I think I like when I watch the film. I like the way that he looks against Pantoja.
Asakura.
I do. I like
after seeing Pantoja with Urseg and with Royval.
It's the speed, it's the feints, it's the footwork. But the thing that Pantoja has is the grappling.
Yeah.
And we know it's a striker versus a grappler. Now, I'm not saying Pantoja can't strike, but he strikes to grapple. He strikes to take you down. When we're talking about Asakura, he strikes to strike. He's striking to only strike, to stay on the outside, sprawl and brawl, Chuck Liddell style, stay on the outside, hit you, knock you out. So I think that's a tough matchup for Pantoja.
Guys, there's a famous sports psychologist that did this study. He's got a group of people, and he brings a 2x4 in the room. Great big long 2x4, and he sets it on the ground. He says, who here can walk this heel to toe? And everybody stands up and everybody walks it heel to toe. He brings in two 12-foot step ladders. He puts the 2x4 across the ladders and says, who could walk this heel to toe? Nobody's hand goes up. And he's trying to prove a point of, wait a minute, you've already done it. The environment has changed.
Yep.
But the task is the same. And what I'm trying to ask you guys, I got a call from the great Ben Folks the other day, and he said, Chael, how much is it going to matter that Asakura is used to a ring and he's going to the cage?
That's another thing.
Is that real when guys are complaining about that? Is that real?
So when I first started fighting at
Very
AKA,
real.
we trained in a ring.
Very real.
It is very real because you fall out
Very
the ring.
real.
Sure.
Even Pantoja recognizes that when you watch Asakura, at times he sticks his head out of the ring between the ropes, his head goes out or an arm goes out. You don't have that anymore. You don't have that ability to reset yourself off of a takedown, because even if you get put back down, it's much different than getting taken down and controlled in the transition. So, yes, I think that plays a part. What I also want to know from you two is, does it play a factor that you can't kick him in the head anymore? No more soccer kicks. The rule changes that he is going to deal with inside an octagon jail, outside of a boxing ring. I mean, he goes, and again, you ask him that, and he says something to the effect of, well, I don't soccer kick my teammates, so I know how to spar and do all this without it.
Okay. I mean, I think that's very fair. And that is kind of an individual thing. Like I said, everybody suffers from ring rust, not named Dominick Cruz. There are some guys that can adjust and adapt. Matt Mitrione used to tell me that the octagon, there was a big one and there was a smaller one, and he still hung up on a fight because they told him it was the big one, it was the small one, or vice versa. And I should share it. For some guys, it really does matter. It really does affect their style, the way Mitrione fought, just by example. But Dom, I don't know about this ring business. I mean, are most guys training in the cage? Do most gyms have a cage? I mean, I'm just asking, but
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think it's a great question, and I think it's a great point. Personally, I've had 2 fights now where I didn't have the octagon that I had for most of my career, and I can honestly tell you it made a difference in my performances. I felt it, because the way that you can't, like you just said about the ring, if you watch Muhammad Ali, he could do the rope-a-dope. Sure. Why can you do that? Because you can lean back. You can do this and that. When you try to lean back and the cage is behind you and you're used to that, now you're blocked, the kick comes. I've gotten caught with kicks.
Or giving up your hips to get taken down.
Yeah, this is what people do. They put you back against the fence and then they look to throw. These are things that you can use, and it makes a difference if you're not used to having the fence. The other side is the takedowns. Remember, these elbows are legal. So when you go to put somebody on the fence, that's a completely different sport compared to a ring. Mm-hmm. You mean, look, if you put Khabib Nurmagomedov in a ring compared to a fence, it would be harder. Yeah. So I think the takedowns are going to be easier for Pantoja, which swings it a little bit in his favor in an octagon against a striker. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Last thing, Dom, on this one. When he walked into the room yesterday, he looked big. He looked big for 125. Asakura.
Okay.
He has not made 125 in 7 years. How big of an issue is this? He is getting a title fight in a weight class, Chael, that he has not fought in 7 years.
He's got to make scratch. What do you think?
How big of an issue could this be? Not only for Dom, the fight, but the recovery right after getting down there for the first time in a really long time.
Couple things that I think about right off the bat is, how soon did he come in from Japan? How long has he been here?
He's been here for a while.
How long was a while? 1 month, 2 weeks, 1 week.
Finished his camp here like a month almost.
So 1 month.
3 weeks.
So that's good. And then that helps him. And then the next stage is, how much did he like prepare himself for the cut? Mm-hmm. Because when guys come in and they don't recover well, it's because they're cutting from 150 pounds to 125 in 5 days. Mm-hmm. But if he came in 138, okay, it won't be a big deal. It's the same thing with ring rust. It all depends on how you prepared in the camp and prepared your body for the war that you're about to walk into. The reason ring rust is a common problem is because the body's not calloused. It's not hardened because you didn't put the time in, and now you're just walking in
fighting in the gym
from a break. Yeah, but if you're fighting in the gym and you really test that, then you're ready. I think it's the same thing for a weight cut. And I'm going to assume he came completely ready because he got the paycheck and he got a once in a lifetime opportunity. When you get a title shot, you don't say no. He said yes, he took it, and here he is. I think he's going to be ready.
If I tell you that I think Pantoja is the best scrambler in the organization, am I going too far? I mean, if I could have any skill that he has, it's that. His ability to scramble and win those situations and have that cardio. I'm impressed.
I think in the UFC, it'd be a stretch because there's some nasty grapplers in the UFC. But in the division, Pantoja is the top scrambler in that division so far with jiu-jitsu and wrestling mixed. But Asakura doesn't want to scramble. That's what I'm trying to say. He's going to stay on the outside, use his footwork, stay at range, and throw the knees, time the knees. Yep. And the thing he has is timing, speed, fakes, and feints.
Wow.
Those three things really make a difference in the range, and it really helps you out in that sense that we're talking about.
I was making this interesting for me, by the way.
He is very,
that's very compelling that a former world champion
smart.
thinks that this guy can come in a world championship. It's baseball. If you got 3 strikes and you're out, we got apparatus, we got weight class, we got rule set.
He's not going to scramble with him. If you scramble with Pantoja, you lose.
Yeah, he's very good at it.
You don't go head to head with it.
Yes.
So what do you do to counter scrambles? Don't grapple. Now what? Now you got a striking match. Let's say we made this a striking match, one-on-one. Who do you put your money on? Just pure striking, kickboxing only.
Asakura.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's what he's looking to create. It's really that simple. And
So it's on Pantoja to make him wrestle.
Yeah, he's got to move him on his heels.
It's on Pantoja to make him grapple.
If Asakura can keep Pantoja on his heels, Pantoja can't shoot. Because in wrestling, you can't shoot moving back. There's too much space. You have to move forward. So it's really actually basic. You use the footwork, you use the feints, you look for the strikes, you stay on the outside, you use all those skills, you circle, you move laterally, you move forward, you don't allow Pantoja to move you back. And those things really give you a strong case in this fight.
It's a very good fight, man. And this whole fight card, top to bottom, is as good as any we've had in a long time. But let's pull the curtain back. Guys, every fight, there's a bit of a, who do you care about on the fight card? That goes out to the fans. Dominick Reyes is loved by fans. Yeah. So let's talk about Dominick Reyes, right? Because he's loved. He is a name that is recognized, and most of that is due to the fact that he fought John Jones, and many people believe that he beat John Jones. But with that being said, he's not that guy anymore, or it doesn't seem that way. He's taking on Anthony Smith this weekend, one of our colleagues. And why has he changed so much since that fight, where he went from being this ex-football player, tremendous athlete, great fighter, striker, could knock you out, to a guy that seems almost gun-shy? I mean, Blachowicz did him dirty after he lost to Jones. Yuri did him dirty with the spinning back elbow. And he just doesn't seem like the same guy. Did those fight? It's hard for me to just say it was the Jones fight. Even though the fights were after, what changed about Dom Reyes? You think it's mental, Chill?
Yes. When you overperform, and he did it against John Jones. I mean, he was the best fighter in the world that night. When you overperform, and it kind of gives you confidence that can be false, by the way. You go in, you start mixing things up. You think it's going to be a little bit easier than it turns out to be. If you ever find yourself in a fight harder than you thought it was going to be, that's where things unravel. And I thought that Reyes has looked pretty good, but he plays a dangerous game. Dom, he goes out, he starts trading punches with these 205-pound monsters. I mean, that's a risky game. Yeah, and Jones isn't a trading style. So if you look at that, Jones isn't gonna, he fights too smart. So that's why he was able to give Reyes a chance, I feel. And whereas Reyes went into a dogfight with Yuri and these other guys, they can match that energy. Jones doesn't fight that way. So he almost, that style allowed him to last longer than it should. Then the next step that I would look at is when you look at Reyes, it's like, okay, what is it about that fight that broke you? Was it being so close? It kind of reminds me of Alexander Gustafsson fighting you and John Jones and getting within inches of a title. Yeah. And just, it's not that he's not good enough. It's not. He is a champion. But you guys are just
Like, how do you even explain
That,
how
you know what they
close
call that
those
in them golf
fights were?
courses? A scotch.
Okay.
Scotch, some booze.
So you nailed it. I think that the scotch
yeah.
is just a little behind.
I hate his golf.
What a bad.
I get jealousy. Why haven't you ever invited me to golf? I'm not going to go. I don't want to golf with you. Why wouldn't you just send the invite? I'm going to say no. You get credit, and then I don't have to feel like I'm left out. It's a bit of a jerk move.
So what happened to one of my friends today? I over-invited to the course. I tried to lie to him about him getting to play. This morning, somebody backs out. Chris Pendleton got sick. So then I call my friend 6:30 in the morning, knowing, and please, I hope he doesn't watch. 6:30 in the morning, knowing he won't answer. So then when I head to the course, he texts me, he goes, am I too late? I go, bro, there. I call you. Right? I did call.
Were you?
I did, right, Jail? I did call.
This is the guy that was trying to critique me on late, by the way. Just to clarify, remember that there's a big mirror for DC, and the rhythm that you'll see with DC is the things that he points at are the things that the three.
It's what he's guilty of.
The three fingers pointing back.
That's exactly right.
That's DC in a nutshell, and I'm okay with it.
I'm like, Dom, look here.
Now you're calling Asakura really big. Asakura is the biggest I've ever seen.
He is big, bro.
About that now, by the way. If he misses weight, we don't have a title fight. They're going to
three fingers pointing back.
Card,
you're the biggest I've ever seen.
No, but
DC.
he's huge though.
So are you, bro.
Yeah,
you are giant. DC.
I'm a
in a good
DC.
way. Hey, can I just
your giant personalities?
Can I disclose something for our audience real fast? Hey, we're sitting on this, and I don't want to take for granted the audience knows this, but Anthony Smith is dealing with something actually difficult to fight with, and Anthony brought this up at his press conference. But his mentor, not just his coach, not just his friend, his mentor, who has been with him every single fight, laid down to sleep about 12 days ago, and he did not wake up.
Is it better for him? Why should he have not fought?
All I know is two other guys that I can tell you off the top of my head have fought with this kind of burden, Jake Shields being one. Jake Shields was very clearly the next best guy to George St. Pierre. Fought a guy named Jake Allenberger and didn't get out of the first round. He was carrying the same kind of grief. I don't know where Anthony's head's at. I'm just sharing with you. This is a lot to deal with. This is a lot I'd rather fight with a broken hand than with a broken heart. I'm just bringing it to the audience's attention.
That's true. And he's fighting Dom, and obviously Dominick Reyes has had a lot of success, and he's very dangerous. I think that this, honestly, when you think about Lionheart, at times he has looked uninterested. Right? That fight against that Delize kid just didn't look that interested. I believe with this, it'll serve as motivation. And I think that we might see a better Anthony Smith this weekend against Dominick Reyes.
Yeah, I have no idea what Anthony Smith we're going to get.
Could you imagine?
I just never know.
I couldn't do it.
I never know which one you're going to get, honestly, in general. So now you add what you just said about losing your heart before the fight. That can go both ways, right? Sometimes it fuels people up. We've seen people lose their fathers before fights and go out there and win. So we'll see what Anthony Smith brings to the table.
Buster Douglas, just for example, when he beat Mike Tyson, credited his mother in the past. I'm just offering, for example.
Sometimes it goes both ways. Yeah, so
it's tough. It's tough.
It's very tough. So yesterday we started to get some of the fights from UFC 311, and it's going to be a big one in Los Angeles. Islam Makhachev taking off Arman Tsarukyan. Then you got Merab versus Umar Nurmagomedov.
Yes.
How excited was he? I mean, because I didn't know that we would get Merab and Umar. It seemed like Merab was saying it ain't happening, but to your point, he took the fight down. So we got two big title fights.
This is Dom's weight class.
In Los Angeles already, and in your weight class.
Let's see how this
right fight,
Dom.
Yeah, that's the fight to make. And I respect Merab a lot for one, taking this after all the things he said about not wanting to take it and then just saying, you know what, biting the bullet, I'm going. But it's kind of crazy if you really break it down. Like, look how many fights he's had, right? 10, what's his streak right now? 10 or 11?
Merab?
Yes.
Yeah, he's won like 12 in a row.
And then now when you finally get champion, now you get the one guy that's probably literally the hardest matchup for him stylistically when he's the title holder. Like, he couldn't have got this guy like 5 fights ago, and and he's getting him right now. And it's just crazy because he said it himself. He looked at all the fights he had to get here, and then he's comparing himself to Umar, and it's like, that's what's interesting to watch. It's like, how does that happen? How does one guy have to fight one contender and one guy has to fight 10? How does that happen? Mm-hmm. How did that happen with him and O'Malley? O'Malley fought 2 ranked guys before he was title holder.
Sure.
2. And he was title holder. Merab's fought 10.
Well, part of Merab's issue is that he wouldn't fight out. Like,
I agree with that.
yes,
That's
he wouldn't
good.
fight his teammate, right?
That's a solid point.
He would have probably gotten the title shot much earlier.
Good point.
But he didn't want to fight his
Good point.
teammate.
Yeah, and I've mentioned that too. That I think, you got to, the way I look at fighting my friends is like, would I rather make all the money in the world with my friend, or would I rather make all the money in the world with somebody that I don't like? I don't really mind either way. I'd rather get, I'd rather share the top of the world with my friend. So I wish they would have made that fight happen.
Yeah, it would have been a fantastic fight, but now it's him and Umar, and
Still a
Islam
fantastic
versus Arman in Los Angeles, Clippers' new stadium. How big of a fight is this fight card, Chill? How big of a card is this going to be, man? It's crazy.
This is the big one. The UFC really wanted to break this out, and there's something about this. It's a new venue. It's something. It was something they haven't done, and it was very important to Dana. I mean, the rumors that were going around for what they were trying to book. This is pretty awesome. By the way, there was a headline that came out because Khabib will have to corner for a world title in the co-main and come right back and corner in the main event with his top pupil. He's got his cousin in one. He's got his top pupil in Islam. I'm just sharing like that. That was a pretty interesting tidbit. I've only seen that in wrestling. I've seen John Smith have to do it. I've seen Tom Brands have to do it. But it's an interesting spot. And this Arman, man,
He's good.
Boy, he's special. He really is. He came in and fought. He fights with Islam on a non-pay-per-view
In Russia on short notice.
Short note, went all 5 rounds. He won 2 of them. I mean, this is a very meaningful guy. I got to sit right up close when he fought Charles Oliveira. And there was something special about him, which is what I would generally say about Islam. But this is the fight.
You know how I know he's good at wrestling? Because he always goes, I work very hard on my freestyle wrestling. He never just says wrestling. He is very specific that he's talking about freestyle wrestling because that's how you get takedowns. Yeah. These two are matched, and Islam carries a little bit of a, this wasn't as close as people are trying to make it seem. Because Islam, even if it's unfair, carries an expectation like no one else. Dustin Poirier lost 4 rounds to Islam and then got submitted in the 5th. And everybody applauded Dustin for how well he did.
Yep.
Honestly, Islam at least feels Arman is getting that same type of push when he doesn't truly deserve it because he doesn't feel it was that close a fight. I think this is the fight, though. I think it's the best fight for this division because I think they're the 2 best in the world. And then the other 2 fights, the other fight will be great. And then Jamal Hill's fighting Garry. Those guys are already going back and forth. But Dom.
Matchmakers know what they're doing.
We were talking about you the other day, right? Before we let you go. You spoke about you wanted a fight. I said I'd like to see you fight Davison Figueiredo.
Oh,
what do you think of that?
Yeah, he called me out, and I respect.
He did?
A while ago, he did.
All right.
And I respect his game, and he's a former champion. I would love that fight. I would love the fight with Cody, rematch with Cody. I would love that fight with Henry. These are fights that make sense to me.
Is there a specific
rematches.
One that you want?
Yeah, rematches make
Henry?
sense to me. Henry would make the most sense to me.
On a personal level. Henry.
Yeah, on a personal level. I don't hate the guy by any means.
You don't like the way it played out?
Yeah, just, and he beat me, okay? I don't want to make it sound like an excuse. All right, you got me on that one. But I partially believe Keith Peterson got me more. So, yeah, he beat me. Okay, fair enough. But at the same time, it's like we've watched the literal worst ref in the history of refs since that fight fail numerous times. And it's like, come on, man. Yeah, but
Dominick,
I'm not the only one to say, like, it's been more than my fight. It's not just my fight. Like, there's been multiple people who've also said stuff.
That was one recently. I like you, man. I got to want to pile on.
Of course, you're always the fence rider. That's what you make people feel good. That's your thing. You don't tell the truth. That's why you say I'm feisty, because I just tell the truth.
No.
Did I tell you? We start talking about his weight where it's too close to his weight class this weekend. 125 is too close to 135 for him to be in a good mood, man. He's competitive.
I'm in a great mood, but I am competitive.
You are competitive.
I'm competitive. But
Henry Cejudo would be ideal.
I think so.
If Henry's not fighting you, who is he rumored to fight? What's going on with Henry?
He's just talking with his manager about nothing.
Does he?
They're just.
They must be offering him a fight at some point. Is there something going on behind the scenes with Henry? Is he turning down fights?
What I've heard is, please don't make me deal with Henry Cejudo. That's a matchmaker.
Really?
Yeah, like it's horrible dealing with the guy. He just says yes, and then you never hear from him. And then he says no, and then I need more money. And then he retires, and then he comes back, and then he's like, oh, I'm bigger than I look. Dude, stop. Come on, you're 5 foot tall, bro. Relax.
Bizarre retirements, by the way. If someone wants
he
to
should have never did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Then he returns to chase a championship that he just threw back. I have never been so successful I could give a world championship back. I've got to tell you, I can't relate.
Well, that's why I wanted the rematch, because it's like after that fight, you retire. Come on, bro.
And a lot of times it's like you come back and you chase that thing that you gave up. Guys,
That's the fight to make.
Dom, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate you spending some time with us. Guys, for Chael Sonnen, I'm Daniel Cormier. Make sure you watch UFC 310 this weekend. Hit that pay-per-view buy button at ESPN Plus, and get us wherever you get your podcast, YouTube, and all this other stuff, right? Y'all don't need to do that.
They're here. See, that's the thing. You tell them where to get it, but they're here.
Yeah.
Like if you'd like to hear us next time, wherever you are now,
Come back.
return to.
Yeah. But there's also other places to get it.
Well, why would they need to? Why would they need?
Well, we want them to watch it on
ESPN
TV too.
Plus?
But we want to watch them on. We want them to watch us on TV so we
Like
stay.
watch it twice?
No, like watch it on ESPN too, so we don't get pushed off.
Do you mean two, like the number two, or as well?
ESPN
T-O-O.
number 2.
Huh, that's interesting. We're on there?
Yeah.
We're coming up.
Let's go, baby. Until next time, guys. Peace.
Are we really on ESPN?
We're on. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So why don't you guys watch us there too?